Tottenham Hotspur Football Club are back in Premier League action this Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It could be the first time we see Heung-min Son, Harry Kane and Gareth Bale all in the same team. This is the match preview, Spurs v West Ham United. Welcome back to another video. I'm so delighted to say that I've got Jamie from the Daily Hotspur back on the channel. Of course, Tottenham take on West Ham United in the Premier League this Sunday for Tottenham's fifth game in the Premier League season so far. Tottenham so far have won 2, we have drawn 1 and we have lost 1. Jamie, what have you made of Tottenham's season so far?
Yeah, well, I think overall it's been pretty positive. I think we've dropped points where you'd be disappointed to have dropped points. I think the Newcastle game was obviously disappointing not to have won that game. Everton at home, we should have been winning that game. But overall, I think you've got to look at the performances and think that the bigger picture, I think there's a lot to be very positive about at Spurs. You know, there just seems to, after the transfer window, there just seems to have been a massive lift at Spurs. I think, obviously, we talk about the Bale signing, that gave the club a huge lift. And then you look at kind of the gaps that we plugged in the squad. There was obviously two new fullbacks brought in. We've got in a new backup striker. We've got in that holding midfielder. So, as I said, you know, the squad has been improved significantly. And I don't think any of us were expecting us to go and kind of plug the gaps the way we did. So, as I said, a lot to be positive about during the start. I think we've had some really good performances. Obviously, the Man United performance was fantastic. We were very unfortunate not to beat Newcastle, and I thought it was a very good performance regardless of the score. And then, of course, that second half against Southampton. So, as I said, you know, maybe the results haven't been as good as we wanted to, but I think in the long term, you know, if we can continue to play the way that we have, we should be in for a really good season.
Jamie, if you cast your mind back a couple of weeks, when we lost that game at home on the opening weekend of the Premier League season against Everton 1-0, a lot of the Tottenham fans, including me, were thinking, oh my God, what a season this is going to be. Of course, then Jose Mourinho went out, brought all these players in. And when you look back at these games, the Newcastle game 1-1, as you say, we should have won it. We created so many chances. We scored 5 away at Southampton. And then, of course, last week, thrashed Manchester United 6-1. It could have been a lot more. So, you know, overall, those last 3 Premier League games that Tottenham have played, you know, we've scored a hatful. And against Newcastle, we should have scored a hatful.
Yeah, I mean, it has. It has changed drastically. And as I said, I think the Bale signing definitely gave us a huge lift. But look, the form of, I think the big thing for Spurs at the moment has been the form of Son and Kane. I think together they've been absolutely outstanding. I mean, together for me, right at this moment in time, they are the best partnership in the world at the moment. The way they can combine has been incredible. I think both players have matured a lot. You know, even this season, you look at the way that Kane's able to drop deep and dictate play, and the way that he can pick out Son. They just really seem to have like a really strong connection now. And you know, that's why they've combined for so many goals. And that has really been a big factor for us this year. The way those two combine, the form they've been in. So I think, as I say, long term, I think that the fitness of those two, if we can keep those two fit, and then of course you've got Bale to add to that, that will be huge, because you potentially got the best front three in the league. So, you know, those two in such good form, I think that's really been the big difference for Spurs. But yeah, and then of course you look at the midfield behind them. You've got Ndombele, who's finally starting to find some form, which is fantastic. And he's been brilliant behind them. Højbjerg's come into form as well. You know, he had a tough start against Everton. It was a very disappointing debut, but you know, since he's been fantastic. He's been exactly what Spurs have needed. He's been exactly what Jose Mourinho wants from a player. He works for the team. He does a really fantastic job. So his form's certainly helped as well. So yeah, I think that, you know, it's strange. It was a really disappointing first game against Everton. It just seemed like the players weren't ready. But ever since that second half against Southampton, you know, the players have been on fire. And as I said, I think the 2 big things for Spurs this year have been Kane and Son so far. So that's been our big thing for Spurs.
Jamie, since the new arrivals, of course, Jose Mourinho has brought new players in. The competition for places now is fierce. and everyone seems to be, playing so much better and now on top of their game, don't they?
Yeah, I think that's what really excites me, the number of options that we have in each position. I mean, you go to the team and there's basically 2 strong options for each position, and that's going to be a really important thing for Spurs this year. It's something that we've always missed, where you look at the bench and there's not those options, but there is now, and especially with our involvement in the Europa League, I think there's so many games in the Europa League, and then of course you've gone through the qualifying stages. We started our season so early, so it was always going to be crucial that we had a big squad. And as I said, you've got so many options now in each position. And we've seen with the fullbacks, I think they're kind of the perfect example of competition. You see that Serge Aurier was a guy I wanted desperately to get out of the club, but you look at his form he's in now, he's potentially ahead of Doherty, and Doherty's been playing really well, I thought. So it goes to show what competition can do. And you look at the other side as well. Ben Davies, of course, came on and had a good performance against Manchester United when he came off the bench. So it's really welcome, that competition. I think the big competition at the moment is obviously Kane and Vinicius. So that will be very interesting. I think that having that rest for Harry Kane, we've seen he's obviously a guy that will need to come in and out of the side at times. Obviously, he's a player that has picked up a number of injuries, and that is very concerning. So it's great that we've finally got someone that's going to be able to come in and replace him. So that's a big thing. So that's what I'm very excited to kind of see how that competition works this year, and I think it will definitely be a big thing for Spurs.
Jamie, talking of feeling excited, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, and Gareth Bale all in the same team. Now, how does that make you feel? Now, talk me through how you felt when you saw Gareth Bale lift that shirt up and we have signed him for this season.
Yes, it's just a dream, really. It was obviously a guy that we kind of during his time at the club, we absolutely worshipped him, really. And he was kind of the same as Kane. And to think that those two kind of icons at Spurs are going to be in the same team is just incredibly exciting. I think it's a sign of where Spurs are going. You've seen over maybe the last 10 years or so, it's been kind of a gradual increase. You see that we had a manager that was obviously fantastic at developing young players. Our aim was to sign young players and develop them up. And then, of course, it was to move into the new stadium. Now, we've moved into the new stadium. We've got the fantastic training facilities. We've now got a world-class manager who's been there and done it. He's won 20 major trophies. And now we've gone and made that big signing. So it kind of is it's a real sign of where Spurs are going as a club. And I think Spurs are now at that stage. I think we've said before, there's always been a hope that Spurs will win trophies. But now I feel as though it's an expectation that Spurs go and win trophies this season. And I do hope that the trophies are coming, and I really do believe they are coming. To go and sign a player like Gareth Bale is such a huge statement, even when we're not in the Champions League. And it's fantastic, the relationship that he's got. I think he's clearly very motivated to get that playing. I think his teammate from Real Madrid, Casemiro, came out and said today that when he's kind of fully focused, he is one of the top 5 players in the world. So he's at a club now where I think he's going to really benefit from being around Kane and Son, and then of course all the other players behind him. So it's a very exciting prospect, because as Spurs fans, I think there's a lot of times when we've been dreading coming back into action, especially after last season. But now, we've gone almost 2 weeks or so without football, and you're really just desperate for Spurs to get back in action now. And I think that's kind of the effect that Bale, Son and Kane's had. So that's going to be really, really exciting.
If I'm honest, Jamie, as a Tottenham fan, I didn't want the international break to come, because after we beat Manchester United the way we did last week, you just want Tottenham to just carry on going, don't you?
Yeah, it's obviously the concern obviously is injuries as well, and we have to wait and see how Kane goes tomorrow. But yeah, it's obviously very, very exciting now at Spurs, and there is that. The start of the season, as you mentioned, it was just kind of where's this team going? It looked as though there was a lot more that needed to be done, and fortunately we went out and obviously signed a Reguilon, we went and signed Bale, we got Vinicius, and now we're looking at a much better position. The players look like they're now fit and ready to go. I think that's the big thing. That it was. I can't quite put my finger on why they weren't ready for that Everton game. It just seemed like that there wasn't they just didn't seem quite ready. But now they are. They're all really firing, and it's really, really exciting for that. I'm really looking forward to that West Ham game now on the weekend.
Jamie, we talk about Heung-min Son and Harry Kane and their partnership, and they've been absolutely fantastic so far this season. Of course, Gareth Bale is looking very, very sharp in training. He even said yesterday how he's feeling good, and you can see how good he is. Vinicius has also signed from Benfica on loan for this season. Do you expect Gareth Bale and Vinicius to feature on Sunday?
I think considering that Bale's just come back from injury, I'm kind of thinking that he might be on the bench. I think that Jose Mourinho has obviously got the option of Lucas Moura. We know that obviously he hasn't gone away with the Brazilian national team. He's a guy that Mourinho really likes. So I think that we'll see Gareth Bale come off the bench. And I think Vinicius as well. He's kind of an unknown entity at Spurs. He's had a fantastic record scoring goals at Benfica last year. So, I mean, that's obviously very positive, but we don't know how he's going to do in England. So, we've got the best striker in the world currently. So I think that he'll start on the bench as well. And I think that that'll be our attacking three on the weekend. I think it'll be Kane, Son and Moura. And I'm sure we'll see Gareth Bale come on eventually. But I said, given that he's just come back from injury, I think he'll start on the bench, unfortunately.
I just want to see all three of them wearing the same shirt, playing on the same team. It would be absolutely fantastic, the scenes. Let's talk about West Ham's Premier League season so far. They have played 4, they have won 2, they have lost 2. They lost their first 2 games against Newcastle and Arsenal, but they have won their last 2, 4-0 at home to Wolves and 3-0 away at Leicester. What have you made of West Ham so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that I think it was, David Moyes that come out that he contracted COVID, and ever since they've gone on and won every single game. So, they must be sitting there thinking, what on earth's going on there? But they've looked really, really good. You mentioned Antonio's been fantastic. I think that there was a stat that he's the second highest goal scorer this year in the Premier League from an Englishman. I think he scored 11 Premier League goals. So, he's bang on form at the moment. Of course, Jared Bowen, a guy that Spurs were formerly linked with, he's looked really good. So, yeah, I mean, look, obviously we're getting very excited that we've got this great team to look forward to, but I think it's going to be a tough test on the weekend. And we know always about West Ham and kind of what they can do against Spurs. They know this is their one big game of the season. So it's going to be a very interesting test for this team, for Spurs, because they are kind of bang on form at the moment, West Ham.
Surely you're expecting as a Tottenham fan to get the 3 points though, Jamie, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I think, we're certainly still in fantastic form, and you saw that performance after against Manchester United even. It was just, it was completely flawless almost. There was just so many brilliant individual performances. There was players just seem to have completely brought into Jose Mourinho's way of playing now, and that's been a big thing. I think before we've kind of seen the players didn't really, they hadn't really brought into the Jose Mourinho's way of playing, but there seems to have been that real buy-in now. So we're starting to really see a proper Jose Mourinho team now, a team that's wanting to fight for everything, that's showing the right characteristics, and that's showing a lot of quality as well. As we keep banging on. But they are, Kane and Son have been in such fantastic form, and to have that sort of quality in the team, I'm still very confident, despite West Ham's form, that we'll go and win on the weekend.
Jamie, you mentioned Antonio there. Any other standout players for West Ham that Tottenham should be aware of?
Well, I mean, look, Declan Rice, I think he's done a fantastic job there as well. He's obviously a guy that's very highly rated. He's been fantastic in kind of turning around West Ham's form. He's obviously a guy that can kind of play in defence, in midfield. So that'll be interesting to see where he plays. But for me, I think Jared Bowen's the one that has impressed me just as much as Antonio has. I think that, he's shown that he's a versatile forward. I think he's got a number of goals and assists. So he's definitely another one to watch out. And I think he was kind of pivotal in that win against Leicester. He was really good at getting forward all the time. So I think he'll be another one, along with Antonio, that Spurs will have to look out for on the weekend.
Jamie, what do you actually think of about West Ham as a club? Because they, some people could argue that Tottenham haven't won, many trophies in the last 20, 30 years. But West Ham, can they achieve anything this season? What can they achieve under David Moyes? And why do all of the Tottenham fans think that this is the cup final for West Ham?
Yeah, look, obviously, I think one thing that I do enjoy about Spurs is that we are very hated. You look at Chelsea, their biggest rivals are Spurs, Arsenal, the same, West Ham, the same, and I do quite enjoy that. But yeah, it was obviously a very important game for them. It's a team that they always manage to get up for this fixture. You've seen, I think that obviously they managed to defeat us at the new stadium, which is very disappointing. But it showed you, that means a lot to them. They're always a club that always bring up about trophies, but when a club hasn't gone 40 years or so without a trophy, it's very difficult to know why they bring that up. But as a club, I don't feel as though they're really going in the right direction. I think that move to the Olympic Stadium has just been a complete disaster for them. The way they were at Upton Park, they were obviously in fantastic form just before they left, but they always go and spend a lot of money, but they just don't seem to really have the right recruitment in place. They never really go and sign kind of the right players, and it never really seems to gel for them. So, I think this is kind of a blip in form at the moment. I can't see them sustaining this. And I think they're kind of a club that will be looking to just about squeeze into the top 10 this year. I can't see them doing too much this year, to be perfectly honest with you.
You rate them highly then?
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope not.
Jamie, let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on the project big picture. Lots of talk about this in the last couple of days.
Yeah, look, for me, I'm definitely not behind it. I think it's kind of a move from the big club to kind of go and support the smaller teams. And in a way, I can understand that there will be some of the smaller clubs will be behind it, because it's a kind of the chance for these Premier League clubs to go and support them. But really, it's kind of a thing saying, look, we'll help you out, but you're not coming anywhere near us. And I think that that's not where the direction of English football wants to go. I think it will reduce the competitiveness of the English game, and that's something we don't want to see. We don't want to see the top clubs taking control of English football, because one thing that makes the Premier League so exciting is its competitiveness. Anyone can beat anyone. We've seen that as a great example this year. We've seen some crazy results. We've seen Leeds get some fantastic results. We've seen West Ham, of course, go and beat Leicester. We saw the week before Leicester go and thrash Manchester City. And you don't want that competitiveness taken away from English football. So although I can kind of understand, yes, they're offering to help these smaller clubs, and that could be a big thing, with obviously the kind of the current financial climate, clubs are going to need support. But I don't think this is a way that I want to see it happen, because as I said, it will, for me, ruin the competitiveness of English football. So for me, it's not something that I want to see happen.
Jamie, you mentioned there has really been some weird and wonderful results, like the last week's result. Obviously, Tottenham beat Manchester United 6-1. Fantastic result for us. But on the same day, Aston Villa 7, Liverpool 2. Now, can Tottenham challenge for the Premier League? I know we've spoke about this, on the Last Word on Spurs podcast, a number of times. But can Tottenham challenge? All of these signings that Jose Mourinho has made, Gareth Bale's obviously come in. We know Tottenham can score goals, but there's no doubt about that whatsoever. But can Tottenham challenge for the Premier League, especially after the results that Manchester City and Liverpool have had?
I think it's definitely too early to give like a definitive result, but you have to consider as title challengers now for me. As we said, look at that front three. I mean, that's arguably one of the best attacking threes in Europe. Then, of course, you've got, as we mentioned, the squad we've got in place now, the options that we've got, and the midfield we've got behind that. The fullbacks are fantastic. Central defensive options, maybe you could argue that they're sufficient for now. So we've got a fantastic squad in place. We've got a fantastic first 11. We've got an incredible attack. So you definitely have to consider us as kind of a team that can go and challenge. At the moment, it's probably too early to say. I think given our involvement in Europe and kind of the Europa League, I think that's going to make it even more difficult to go and challenge for the Premier League title. But for me, I really believe that we're going to end that wait for a trophy. I can see us definitely bringing in one trophy, or whatever it might be, whether it's the League Cup, whether it's the Europa League. I definitely can see a trophy coming in. But given our involvement in so many competitions, I think it's quite hard to see us kind of sustaining it in the Premier League. So I'd say that we're definitely contenders, but right now it's kind of too early to say whether Spurs can actually go on and win it.
Well, let's hope the trophies are coming.
Yeah.
Jamie, after the West Ham fixture on Sunday, we play Burnley away, Brighton at home, and then West Brom away. They're all winnable games, aren't they? They're all games that Tottenham should be winning.
Yeah, look, on paper, but as we said, you know, there's been some crazy results in the Premier League. But I think the big thing is that we're all confident now. You look, as we keep mentioning, the team is looking fantastic at the moment. They've all bought into what Jose Mourinho's, you know, the kind of the style that he wants to put in place, his ideas of playing. So there is a huge confidence that Spurs won't go and trip up in these fixtures, that Spurs have the quality to get through, that Spurs have the options to rotate. You know, the European football is going to start, is it next week or the week after? So that's going to be interesting to see how we start to juggle that. But as I said, the options, we've got so many options in that squad now. We've got a lot of quality. So, yeah, they're all obviously all winnable on paper. And I really feel there is a confidence now that we can really go on a very strong run as a team, because we're just looking very, very good at the moment.
Jamie, lastly, if you had your choice and you were Jose Mourinho, how would you set up against West Ham this Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it was too dissimilar to the way we lined up against United. I think obviously Lloris would be in goal. Davinson Sanchez would be my first choice central defender at the moment. You'd probably have to pair him alongside Eric Dyer. I think that he's a guy that Jose Mourinho really seems to like, and he's had mixed performances, but I thought he did well against Man United, so I'll stick with him. I think you go with Reguilon as the left back because he's been fantastic since he's come in. I've been seriously impressed with him. It's difficult to drop Aurier. You know, you've got two fantastic options there at right back now in Doherty and Aurier. So, but for me, I think given his performance against United, I think Aurier is probably the guy who I'd go with. The midfield three, I think Ndombele's been really, really exciting. It's just brilliant to see. I mean, you look at the videos of him in training. I mean, you see Bale doing all the stuff that he's doing and looking in as, you know, a real standout player. But there's, you know, you look at the highlight reels from Ndombele and yeah, it just looks like his confidence is really getting, you know, really getting there now. And yeah, it's really exciting to see him play. So Ndombele, hopefully the sales side obviously is worrying about his injuries. And then I think Højbjerg, as I said, he's done a fantastic job. He's kind of come in and done that, filled that role that Spurs needed of a more defensive-minded midfielder. And then, as I said, the front three, unfortunately, I can't see Bale starting. I really hope I'm wrong, but I think that Lucas Moura will start ahead of him. He's, of course, been at Hotspur away this week, Lucas Moura, so there's a good chance he'll start. Harry Kane, I think, will start front, and Heung-min Son, and that, for me, would be my team against West Ham.
Jamie, whether he plays or not, or whether he starts or not, Gareth Bale, for you, where does he fit in at Spurs?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, even to have him on the bench is just a really big factor. I mean, I think one thing of having that kind of that fear factor to come off the bench. I remember playing Chelsea in the Cup semi-final a couple of years ago, and they had Hazard and Costa to come off the bench, and that's something that you really fear, and it kind of changed the game for them. So to have Gareth Bale on the bench, regardless, I think it's a big thing for Spurs. You know, it's a massive option to come off the bench, but yeah, I mean, look, he's a guy that will obviously come straight into the starting 11 once he's fully up to speed. It looks as though he's very close to being fully up to speed. So I'm sure it'll be very close before, it'll be very short time before we start seeing him line up. But look, you'd see him in a front, you're sure that you'd see him in a front three of Kane, Son and Bale. So again, it's just so exciting. It's kind of seems surreal. And yeah, it obviously sets us up for a very exciting season, I think.
Jamie, I now want to ask you the final question. Score prediction on Sunday against West Ham United, bearing in mind that Tottenham have not kept a clean sheet yet in the Premier League.
Yeah, I can't see us doing it against West Ham. As I said, I think they've got some great options. They're playing very well at the moment. So I think you can see them at least scoring. But I'm still thinking that Spurs are going to win. For me, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. And I'm going to say that Bale will score. I'm very confident he'll come off the bench and make a quick impact. I think if you look at kind of James Rodriguez, and he's obviously come in, had a new environment. He's a very talented player, but he just seems to have flourished. And I think we'll see something similar with Bale, where he's now come to a very new environment, an environment where he's going to be much more settled and appreciated. He's going to be one of the most talented players in the team. So that's going to really help him. And I think that will help him to settle quickly. And I can see him scoring the weekend. So I'm going 3-1 Spurs and a Bale goal.
I couldn't agree more. It's exactly what I'm going for. I could completely agree. And I tell you what, Jamie, I never ever thought that I'd hear you say the words, "You can't drop Serge Aurier."
I know, it's incredible. I know, and I can't believe I'm saying it because he's probably top of my list for players to sell. But I mean, you've got to give him credit. He's really has kind of come along this year, and that performance against United was fantastic. The way he got forward and defensively he was really good as well. So yes, as we said, it's the competition now for places is very exciting, and it's quite incredible that we've got those kind of options at right back. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how he gets on the weekend. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Jamie, let's hope that exciting times are ahead and Jose Mourinho delivers trophies and we get the win on Sunday. Thank you very much for joining me, and come on, you Spurs.